My name's Ryan Kersey, a grateful believer in Jesus Christ and proud and thankful and humble all at the same time. uh, I started off just on a wild road. My parents were kind of, I don't know, they struggled and got sober and struggled and got sober. And I was the youngest of 5 kids, so I kind of, I guess, got the brunt of it all when it came to them. Uh, Seeing them at a young age fight and seeing my mom beat my dad all the time and argue about who's more sober to drive, you know. And I was just a troubled kid, and I got into so much trouble. And I had an older brother that kind of, led me down that path too. But, and not to mention the crap that was wrong in my head. I had my sister molested me at a young age, and that kind of stuck with me. And I never really knew how to deal with it. So I kind of lashed out, I guess. Started getting in trouble at school, starting fights, and smoking weed at 10, I think it was. Drinking hard liquor at 12, sneaking my parents' alcohol. Smoking cigarettes. I think at 13, my parents started letting me drink, letting me smoke. And they figured if I was going to do it anyway, they would just let me, right? Which was just horrible idea. But I do thank God that when I was 14, my mom actually found Christ. And she tried to teach me that path. Of course, I was stuck in my ways already. I wanted to get high. And just getting expelled from school, it was just one thing after the other. And in and out of juvie, I called my big one, I called a bomb threat to a high school and robbed a gas station that night. Ended up going to DYS for almost a year. I got out when I was 15. And it probably even went more downhill from there. My mom tried to put me in a private Christian school, God's Bible school, but it didn't. I stuck out like a sore thumb. All these kids that were raised in church, and I wasn't. And just fresh out of juvie prison, kind of didn't sit well with a lot of them. So I was getting into fights at private school. I lasted 1 year there, and was surprised about that. But got into some more trouble. I robbed another gas station. And I can remember my mom begging the judge to send me to Teen Challenge instead of juvie prison. And I think she sat there and bawled her eyes out in court, just spewing all kinds of stuff about Jesus and what he did in her life. And he actually allowed it. And I mean, I praise and thank God for that, because that gave me the foundation I have now. It might have not have stuck, but a year and a half of being just poured into about God and his love, and it changed me. And going around the country giving my testimony at 17, I mean, I just fell in love with people, and just talking to people and telling people my story. And when I came home, I was just on fire for God, and I just wanted all things Jesus everything. And it was good for a while, and life kind of gets in the way, I guess. Sometimes we get busy, or our priorities, kind of changed, especially growing up, getting older. And I kind of lost that focus on Christ. And I fell away from God. And got with a woman who didn't believe in God too when I was about 19, which led me further down that rabbit hole. Lost my grandparents at 20, and it kind of like, they were the patriarchs of our family with believing in Christ. So I was kind of angry at God, I guess. And with everything that happened with my sister when I was younger, and trying to get that out. And it all came out so wrong. And I kind of blew it up in a family argument. I let it all out, which didn't make it believable at all, for one. And kind of alienated myself from my whole family because of it. And kind of lived on my own for a while. And that led me down to smoking weed every day again, and getting drunk. And ended up having 2 kids, and hanging around the wrong crowd again. And led me into getting into more trouble as an adult this time now. And just was, with my past, I got what do they call it? An addictive personality. Just everything I do, I'm all in. And that's pretty much everything I do. Smoking weed, I'm not just smoking a joint. I'm smoking a whole bag of weed. I'm not just drinking a beer. I'm not just having a glass of wine. I'm drinking the bottle, a 12-pack, plus a 5th. And just even with having kids, I think my focus still didn't really change much. And I mean, I hate admitting that now, but looking back, if I would have focused more on maybe my family or whatever, maybe the path I went down wouldn't have happened. But I thank God for where I have came from. But losing my mom when I was 23, it just spiraled me. And I thought I was too young. I really became bitter against God, and just thought he didn't even exist. Because if he did, why would he take the 3 people in my life that taught me about God? Why would he take them from me? That's kind of how I felt. Not saying it's right. That's just kind of how it happened for me. And me and my father actually spiraled together. When my mother passed, me and the mother of my 2 kids were fighting all the time. So I moved out with her and moved in with my father. And he had been with my mother for 30 plus years. So he was just broken. He was lost. He was already strung out on pain pills when my mom was, before she passed. So when she did die, it turned so much worse. And then put me in the picture. I'm an addict too. So we both just spiraled so bad. Just going through prescriptions of Oxycontins, Percocets, and Vicodins, like they were bags of Skittles. It was just unbelievable looking back how many pills we were taking. And probably a year of using pills. At 24, I got introduced to heroin, and I was off to the races. It was the best thing I could have ever imagined. It was like being on cloud 9, and it was just what I thought was a dream all the time, to hide all the pain, to suppress it, to not have to worry about it, to just be high, so to speak. That was what I needed, what I felt I needed anyway. And my dad was right there next to me, snorting it right with me. And 2 years into opiate addiction, we got introduced into a needle. And it just got so much worse. And rent, electric, food seemed less important than getting that next fix, right? It spiraled even more than I thought it ever could. When I was 25, my dad was 55, and we actually lost the one thing we had, an apartment. And we had 2 cars, and we tried to live out of those for a couple months until one broke down and one got impounded. So it took us into trying to crash on people's couches. And when you're 2 heroin addicts, nobody really wants to take you in on their couch. And I mean, we tried to hide it, but I don't know if anybody knows about heroin use. It's not necessarily something you can hide. And track marks kind of give it away, nodding out, getting sick if you don't have any. I mean, it's kind of a dead giveaway. We ended up getting a tent and just crashing in the woods. I think I was 26, and we thought we was living high on the hog. We didn't have to pay rent. I was working. Dad got a pension check, so every single penny of our money could go to dope. That was what we thought was high on the hog, right? We had 2 tents set up plus a storage tent and a generator on the corner of Glenway and Glenmore and Price Hill, or Cheviot, whatever it is, and was paying there's a little like foreign market right behind the UDF there, and we were giving them $20 a week to use their Wi-Fi. So we had a flat screen TV and Netflix and all this. We thought we had it made. Looking back, I gotta laugh at it now, but we just thought we had it made. We were making, it's ungodly, the amount of money. I mean, I had like $2-3 grand a month. Dad had $4 grand a month. So you're talking about $6 grand a month, and we still chose to live in a tent because that was more money to spend on dope. And we wouldn't even stock up on groceries or nothing. It wasn't nothing like that. We'd blow through $6 grand in a week, maybe 2. And then the other 2 weeks of the month, we'd either be waiting on my paycheck or I'd be going out to steal what we need so I could sell it. And trying to keep a job during all this time was next to impossible. Going from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, to eventually I didn't want to work no more. So solely relying on Dad's Social Security and his retirement checks. And which is pathetic in itself, if you ask me. But just trying to survive off that, 2 people shooting heroin on a daily basis. And along this process, we ended up getting hooked on crack too. And if we could get meth, we were using it too. And there was times where I'd have all 3 of them in the spoon: crack, meth, and heroin. And it's only by God's grace that I'm not dead. And the same with my dad too at the time. 3 years of that rat race of the homelessness, and thinking I had it made in a tent. And at least I'm with my dad, right? That's all I kept thinking. At least I got my dad. My 2 kids that I got out there are struggling with their single mother, trying to make ends meet, but at least I got a shot of heroin, right? And to think that I gave my kids up for a drug. I know I got them back, but man, it breaks my heart to know I chose that drug over everything and anyone else. 3 years of doing that, just being broken, no hope. I never wanted to change. I never wanted to get better. I was content. I was happy with where I was. In and out of jail. I was getting caught stealing all the time because we were broke all the time, even though we had money all the time. My last little stint, I did 18 months, got out for 6 months, and went back for, I think, 30 days. I got caught stealing at the Western Hills Shopping Center. There's a Sears there. I don't know. I don't think it's there no more, but I was shooting dope in the bathroom downstairs, and I figured I could get high. I'll go steal something real quick, go sell it, get more dope, and I'll go back home. I can get Dad high. No, it didn't work like that. They were on to me the second I went into the store to go shoot dope in the bathroom. The loss prevention caught me, and I mean, looking back, I praise and thank God now. And Cincinnati police came and picked me up, and Judge Ted Berry sentenced me to 30 days, and I was thankful for that because I was used to doing 6 months and a year and 6 months here, 6 months there. So I was thankful to get 30 days, right? And almost through sickness that whole time, that whole 30 days, I was doing so much dope that it took me a month to get out of sickness. By the time I got out, Dad would put money on my books when he got paid, and I saved it, of course, because I know I'm going to get out and use, right? Well, and during this whole time, I always did dope. I never really had an overdose, and I always thought I was, careful. And I got out of the Justice Center, Hamilton County, and when you get out of the Justice Center early in the morning, there's at least 5 dope boys that sit in front of the Justice Center waiting for a dope fiend just like me. And so it wasn't hard to get dope. I didn't have to call nobody I knew. I knew as soon as I was walking out the door, I was going to be able to get dope. And being an intravenous user, I didn't want to snort it anymore. So I had to wait till I got back to Western Hills to use my dope. And I had rigs stashed all over Western Hills. I bet you there was a time where every block, there was at least 2 of them that were mine. In bushes, under garbage cans, in stores and restaurant bathrooms. I mean, it's wild where I had them all stashed. And I got back to Western Hills, went right to Sears, and I had some stashed in their tool department, and grabbed a rig, went to the bathroom, and it was lights out. 30 days of not using. I got some bad dope, probably fentanyl or whatever it was at the time, and this pastor, Ken White, found me, a little Baptist preacher out of Okeana, and seen my arm sticking out from under the stall. He had said he screamed for his wife, and he got the stall door open, crawled underneath. 82 years old, he found me, and pulled my needle out, threw it away, seen my dope, flushed it, started giving me CPR while his wife called 911. And they used 7 Narcans on me and had to shock me 3 times. And they got me back. And I was in a coma, though, for 3 days. And at UC Hospital. Or Mercy West, I'm sorry. I wake up 3 days later, and Ken and his wife never left my side. Not one time did they leave in 3 days besides to go get food down in the cafeteria. And they didn't know who I was. They didn't know my name. All they knew was Jesus was in them, and that's all they knew, to share God's love, right? I was a human, and that's what the Word calls us to do, is to love others. And that was all they did. And when I woke up, I was freaking out. I didn't know where I was. I ripped the IV out. I'm yelling, I'm screaming. And Sarah was trying to calm me down. All I see is these two old people in my room. And she's trying to calm me down. He's like, I'm going to go get a nurse. And he goes out, and she gets me calmed down. The nurses come in and everything. And they had told me who they were. And the nurses were just letting them talk. And got me calmed down. I chilled out. And I had to stay in the hospital for another 2 days, I think it was. They just wanted to monitor me. I had a MRSA infection, they thought too. But and still, for those 2 days, they still never left me. And I knew that it was time to stop running. It was just time to run back to God. To see two people that didn't even know me share God's love with me and take the time to try to save me. And with nothing in return. They didn't want nothing. All they did was want to give it to me. And over the next 3 months, not one time did they try to give me $1. It was never about any kind of money. They wanted to see me do good. They wanted to see me get sober and live right. And they were coming to my tent, feeding me, and my dad. My dad was being so mean to them because he didn't want me getting sober because he was still getting high. So he was so mad that I was wanting to get sober. And he knew that if I got sober, he was probably going to have to follow behind soon. And he didn't right away, and I did end up having to leave my dad for a little bit. But that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do, too. I think I had to leave him for about 6 months. And he was still, we got an apartment, and he was bringing just not sober people up to the house 24/7. So I ended up having to leave, and Sarah and Ken actually took me in because I was working. I had a good job. I had a car. I was trying to do good. It didn't even last long either. Dad ended up getting sober a month later. He didn't want to do life without me. I mean, I didn't want to go without him either. We were been through so much together. When you go through that with somebody, it's just, And I was always the baby, so I was always his baby. I was always just super close to my dad. And I praise and thank God he ended up getting sober through it. And when he passed away, he had 7 years. But, went back and, man, it's just been one blessing after the next. It has just been, this July would be 10 years. 10 years sober. All thanks to because someone shared God's love with me. If it wasn't because of somebody just sharing what the Word of God tells us to do, they didn't do nothing spectacular. I mean, we see it as spectacular, but it's just what the Bible tells us to do. I think we lose sight of so easily, and that we don't want to be around people like that, but that's who the Bible calls us to go to. And that was all they did, was share God's love. And because of that, these two dope fiends, son and father, ended up getting sober from it. And I mean, I praise God, and I hope God gets glory through every bit of it. And God's love just shined through them. And I praise and thank God for them. Both of them are in God's presence now. So, and I got 7 years of sobriety with my dad before he passed. And I mean, that's something I'll cherish forever. And I thank God for that. And I mean, to go from living in a tent to where I am now, I'm blown away. I got my kids back, and I got another one because of it. I'm married now to the most amazing woman I could ever dream of. I have my own business, very successful business, and I thank God for it. It's all His anyway. Nothing that I've done should deserve any of it. And I just praise and I thank God for everything that He's given me, that He does for me, and I hope that He gets all the glory. I don't want nothing from it. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do anything. And I just want to share God's love for what two people did for me. I hope that I can just get my story out, that if it touches one person and gives God glory because of it, then it's all been worth it. And I just praise and thank God I've been given the chance to tell just a little bit of my story to hope God gets some glory. I appreciate it.